Do you want to reduce your energy bills? Or maybe you want to use greener energy? Go solar and get a discount. Right now, Which members can get a 7.5% discount on solar panels and their installation if you use Heatable, a Which Trusted Trader approved service. You can also include a storage battery and EV charger, handy if you're looking at making the switch to an electric car. To make use of this exclusive offer, simply head to which.co.uk/solar-offer. That's which.co.uk/solar-offer before the 30th of September 2025. And if you're not already a Which member, you can grab a year's membership for 50% off the usual price. To do that, go to which.co.uk/podcast offer to get involved. Start your solar journey today. Go solar and get a discount with Which.
Have you ever spent over the odds for a second-hand gig ticket or wondered why the final price you paid was higher than the initial price? Today, we're diving beneath the eye-watering costs of ticket sales. Welcome to Which Money. Hello, I'm Lucia Ariano, and with me today, I'm joined by researcher and writer Tali Ramsey. Hi, Tali.
Hi.
And also Adam Webb, campaign manager from the FanFair Alliance. Hello, Adam.
Hi.
Well, thank you both so much for joining us today. Ticket sales have been making the headlines a lot recently. Beyonce, Taylor Swift, Oasis. As soon as you came in, Adam, you mentioned Oasis and whether or not we'd bought tickets. I mean, I did try and buy Oasis tickets, but when I got to the basket, they were £400 each, and I was like, I can't pay that. I'm not that much of a fan. I mean, shall we start there? I mean, why were Oasis tickets so inflated?
Good question. That's currently subject to an investigation by the Competition and Markets Authority. But in terms of that show, I mean, again, I don't know the kind of the finer details, but those kind of increases in pricing which seem to happen. I'd say it's something that's kind of come over from America, and it's kind of a drive from certain promoters to try and find what they term market-based prices, which effectively means the price on the secondary market. And again, these tickets are sometimes called dynamic pricing or market-based pricing or in-demand pricing or platinum pricing. And I think effectively that's what happened with those tickets. There's been a select committee that kind of raked over this a little bit as well to try and find a little bit more information in terms of kind of how it happened. I don't think the full story's kind of come out yet in terms of what the trigger point was, but I think that's effectively, what's happened is that there's a kind of a face value price, and at some point there's a trigger that increased the prices.
Yeah, because you mentioned dynamic pricing, so it's kind of like on demand, like it's based on how.
I mean, this was actually a subject of of some debate between MPs and the UK CEO of Ticketmaster in the committee in terms of what is it that actually happened, and there was some dispute in terms of that kind of, this is a bit like kind of Uber and surge pricing. Or is it just a kind of a predetermined decision that at some point, after a certain amount of sales, the pricing kind of triggers?
I suppose we see it with, say, flight sales and other things like you've mentioned. But it does feel like ticket prices have just skyrocketed in recent years. I went to see Arctic Monkeys. I think it was probably about, I actually couldn't tell you. This will probably be really wrong, but maybe 8 years ago. I think it was £40 a ticket for the O2. I mean, how much are people paying now for these big headline shows?
I mean, again, it kind of depends on the artist, and it kind of depends on the production. I mean, I work closely with a lot of music managers and other people in the music industry. I mean, the one thing I'd say in the defence of the industry is that, since COVID and cost of living crisis, costs have become insane in live music. And obviously there was a period of, 18 months to 2 years where kind of the whole live industry shut down, and that caused, deep ramifications, I think, for the live business from that. So I think as a result of that, there's been a kind of a natural increase. Just the price of everything has gone up and the costs have gone up. So you kind of got that. I think in between that as well, you've got the again, large-scale ticket touting, which has kind of become, unfortunately, kind of part of the industry, and the industry's kind of had to work around it to some degree. I mean, effectively, it's a black market that's kind of tagged on. And again, that's artificially inflated prices, and again with things like dynamic pricing as well, again it's kind of opened opportunities to certain promoters to say, well, are we pricing our tickets too cheap? maybe we should inflate the prices. Again, I think things like dynamic pricing is actually quite, it's not very widely used in the UK market. It's very widely used in the US.
Really?
Yeah, so it's kind of standard practice out there. And again, I think there's more ambivalence around ticket touting in the US as well compared to the UK. I mean, I've always found it very notable in our campaign is very much UK artists that are, in support of tackling this. I think there's changes as well in the US, but I think it's seen much more of like the kind of the workings of the free market over there.
And you mentioned earlier the term secondary. I mean, Tali, this is something that I feel you can tell me about. Primary and secondary ticketing, what's the difference?
So the primary ticketing market is essentially the official ticket sellers, so it's where the tickets first appear when they're put onto the market. And then the secondary ticket market is essentially where tickets are resold that have already been bought from the primary market. And that's where we're seeing a lot of the problems, because what people are doing, they're buying up a lot of the tickets on the primary market and then selling them at inflated prices on the secondary market to people who really want to go and see certain artists, but they see that they don't have any tickets left on the primary market.
And would it always be obvious for a fan to know if they're on an official website, or, I mean, I say official, if they're on a primary selling website or a secondary one?
No, because I think a lot of people just will go to Google and search the artist or the event and then tickets. In an investigation we did recently, we found that a lot of the secondary ticket websites were coming to the top of the Google search results. So a lot of people just click on that and think that that is the official ticket seller. So yeah, I think a lot of people just aren't aware.
I mean, I did see one article where it said that Beyonce tickets were being sold at resale prices before they went on general sale. Is that right? I mean, that sounds crazy.
I think, that's something that we found. So it's like, especially with ticket touts, it's in a lot of ways it is a job for them. So they are aware of what's happening and like when tickets are going to be released. So they get in there first a lot of the times.
And how are they doing that? Where are they getting these tickets from?
I mean, they're getting them the same place that a consumer would get them. I mean, Tali's right that there's kind of, I mean, again, I think there's kind of two kinds of resale markets. There's the kind of unauthorised, uncapped markets, which is your websites like Viagogo, StubHub, Gigsberg. Again, and again, they're dominated by large-scale ticket touts, commercial ticket touts, businesses who try and access as many tickets as possible, and then dump them onto resale immediately to try and make money. And then there's another kind of resale market, which obviously is the one that we're trying to promote around consumer to consumer, capped resale, where you can resell a ticket for the price you paid. So more of a service rather than trying to profiteer. But again, I think in terms of where do the touts get the tickets from, kind of a variety of measures. Some are using specialised software to attack ticketing systems. Others have large teams of people. There's quite an interesting report that BBC Wales published a couple of months ago. Again, sort of teams overseas. Again, lots of students. Working for touts in the UK or in other places to access tickets. A lot of tickets are speculatively listed, so the touts haven't actually bought the tickets. I mean, again, for what you mentioned earlier about tickets being listed before they're actually on sale, I was looking at a couple of gigs before I came here. One was the Raytons, who are a band from Wigan, at least in Andy's constituency, funnily enough, who are playing at Wembley Arena. Again, tickets don't go on pre-sale till tomorrow, but one of these sites, Gigsberg, already has tickets for sale. So again, the tout can't have actually bought the tickets, but they are fraudulently essentially listing those tickets for sale. So again, it's kind of like a multitude of different problems, I think. But again, it's all based around these uncapped, unauthorised resale sites.
And I suppose, would you say that's where the risk lies, or generally is there a risk in going to a secondary seller?
Yeah, I think that's where all the risks are. I mean, these sites can't guarantee the tickets. They're not authorised. There's loads of bad practice. Historically, massive breaches of consumer law. I mean, to be honest, Viagogo's arguably one of the better ones, and Viagogo's pretty problematic. But again, there's it's been a very under-regulated sector, I think. And again, like Tali said, I think the issue with Google, especially, fans are being kind of signposted to kind of the back alley basically rather than to the box office. And I think fundamentally that's been one of the problems. It's something that our campaign's kind of worked. We've had a lot of conversations with Google to try and address this, and it's been very difficult to get them to take any action. So again, it's one of the reasons why we're trying to push for a change in the law now to try and address that.
We'll get much deeper into that as we go on. You mentioned Viagogo there. Now seems like a good time then. Shall we just list off some of the key players in the primary world and the secondary one? Yeah,
the primary market, again, Tali said earlier, that's the kind of the authorised ticket companies that are authorised to sell tickets to shows. So, the biggest by far is probably Ticketmaster. You've also got AXS, C Tickets, Eventim, Dice. There's quite a few. All of them will be members of STAR, the Society of Ticket Agents and Retailers. There'll also be authorised resale as well. So all of those big primary ticketing companies allow you to resell a ticket for the price that you originally paid. They'll charge a small fee to the new buyer. There's also specialist capped resellers as well, like Twickets and Tixel. Again, similar model. They'll allow you to resell a ticket, not for a profit, but to get your money back, and then someone else can buy the ticket. And then you've got the unauthorised resale sites. And again, there's a few of those. You've got Viagogo, StubHub, Gigsburg, Ticombo. Who have I missed? SeatsNet. Again, some quite obscure ones that again,
some I haven't heard of that you've just mentioned.
Yeah. But again, fundamentally, their model is all very similar. They are a website. They pay a lot of money to dominate Google search advertising, and they have large-scale ticket touts, mostly breaking the law to acquire tickets and supply them. So it's nothing big or clever about the business model, but that's effectively what it is.
Well, should we get to then, what is legally maybe going wrong here or is not legal? When it comes to the secondary market, Tali, is it legal? Like, are there any kind of points that are raising eyebrows?
So in my investigation, I found that a lot of the events where there were tickets for them on Viagogo and StubHub, they weren't authorised partners with the event organisers. So those tickets were essentially invalid, and you probably wouldn't be allowed in the event if you bought them. But I think the practice is legal. It's just not regulated, I believe.
Yeah, broadly. Again, there's a whole bunch of consumer laws in the UK which both the platforms and their suppliers have to abide by. Probably the key one is the Consumer Rights Act of 2015, and that kind of mandates that when you resell a ticket through a secondary platform, you've got to supply certain information. So you've got to apply the block, the row, the seat number, if there's seat numbers, any restrictions around the use of the ticket, as in if you're not allowed to resell it, that would be a key one. Or any age restrictions or anything like that. The original face value. Effectively, how it should work is that you shouldn't be able to buy a ticket through a secondary ticketing site without kind of knowing what the key terms and conditions are. There's other consumer laws around the identity of traders as well. Again, that information is quite often kind of squirreled away on Viagogo. It's very difficult to find it, and on some of the other sites, it's kind of non-existent, so you don't actually know who you're buying a ticket from. So there's quite a lot of key information there. I think the other thing is just in terms of how these touts acquire tickets, and again, while it may not be illegal to resell a ticket, the way some of these tickets are being acquired is definitely illegal. And again, there's actually been two kind of quite major convictions of ticket touts who were acquiring, tens of thousands of tickets. You clearly cannot acquire tens of thousands of tickets by any legal means.
So are we talking, kind of bots on websites? Or
again, it's a combination. Those cases are worth any of your listeners, having a look at actually, because they were, they're quite fascinating. The kind of range of offences and techniques used. Again, specialised software, multiple identities. Multiple credit cards. I believe one of the touts, this came up in court, they called it doing a fraudy, where they would kind of get tickets and they kind of Tipex out names. It was just a whole kind of range of offences, but incredibly large scale. And again, you're talking about millions and millions of pounds here. Big forfeiture orders after the convictions. And again, they weren't, unfortunately, rare examples. There's quite a few of these kind of operators, not only in the UK, but obviously a lot of overseas touts will also target our events and our ticketing systems. And obviously the main unauthorised resale services like Viagogo and StubHub, they're not based in the UK. They're all based kind of offshore. So again, that's kind of another added problem into all this as well.
Are we ever talking about individual resellers here, or is it really just the big businesses that we're talking about?
I think we're fundamentally talking about fortunately, it's quite a small number of platforms that are used, and there's I wouldn't like to put a number on sort of how many touts are using those, but again, even that kind of the touts themselves, it's kind of an evolving thing. And again, one of the things, there was been some quite interesting news reports on this recently, is a kind of a younger generation of touts who kind of started off reselling trainers and games consoles, and now they've moved on to tickets. They're quite often called sneaker kids.
It's kind of the same thing, isn't it? Because it's like exclusivity, and it's the big drop, and
it's all of that parlance, dropping, and and again. Those groups quite often you work through Discord groups and WhatsApp groups, and again, it's kind of like a large number of them all working together, and they can specialise through the technical expertise of kind of one bot master or something like that. And so again, it's kind of an evolving problem, but again, it's kind of all taking place. It's all funneled through these platforms. So again, that's the kind of thing. The easier kind of thing is to target the platforms, rather than go after thousands of ticket touts.
And it's not just the secondary market raising eyebrows, as we've already mentioned, the Oasis dynamic pricing. Adam, is it legal?
I think dynamic pricing is broadly legal. I think it's the way in which consumers are actually presented with the mechanics of it. So were they given pre-warning? And again, when they joined a queue or something, or a waiting room, were they given prior information, dynamic pricing or surge pricing, or however you want to term it, would be involved.
Well, let's just take a moment then to hear from our reporter Ollie, who went to the O2 in London to chat to some fans to see what they thought about the state of the ticketing market in the UK.
What would you say to someone who's reselling tickets for a huge profit?
Greedy!
What's the most you've ever paid for a ticket?
This 220 quid. 220 quid we paid for this.
How does it make you feel when you see tickets being resold for double or triple the price?
It makes me furious. It's just like everything in life is expensive. Inflation is through the roof. But we're all here for like a good night out, so why can't we make it like a little bit more affordable so that everyone has access as well?
Because some people can't really afford it, and some people really want to go to the show, and some people just want to buy it just for the resale and get the money off it. So
I think it's wrong. I don't think that people should be able to profit out of it just because they've got in there and bought the tickets early.
Tried to get Oasis tickets, we queued all day. They were going for like £500 towards the end. Couldn't get them. They was being sold instantly for like £2,000, on resale sites. Yeah,
that's so much money.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy.
It's just taking advantage of people. It's not really fair.
So, what would you say to someone who's reselling tickets for a huge profit?
Get a life. That's what I say.
I think everyone probably agrees it's unfair. It's about time someone did something about it.
Every year, Which tests thousands of the products that you rely on every day. And we've been doing it for over 60 years.
Which reviews are 100% impartial. We don't accept freebies from manufacturers, and we have no owners, shareholders or government departments to answer to. So our work is on behalf of you, the consumer.
In a world of misleading claims and fake reviews, we test everything, from everyday items to big purchases, so that you don't have to.
We then put them through tests and assessments that go beyond the accepted standard to work out how well these products work for you and what's not worth your money. And a Which membership not only gets you access to our reviews, it also funds our non-profit campaigning work, like getting scam ads banned on social media and ending broadband and mobile mid-contract price hikes. And right now, podcast listeners can become a Which member for 50% off the usual price by heading to which.co.uk/podcast offer. Well, I think it's very clear from our conversations so far that something needs to be done, and we are taking action here at Which, aren't we, Tali? Can you talk to us about our campaign?
Yeah, so our campaign essentially is focused on stopping ticket touts, and we want this to be done by the government imposing a price cap for resale tickets, which is something that you can see on, for example, Ticketmaster has a fan-to-fan exchange where if you can't go to an event, you can resell the ticket, but you're not allowed to resell it, sell it again at an inflated price. And also platforms like Twickets, which also operate in this way. So that's what the campaign is focused on.
So what's next for the campaign, and how can any of our listeners get involved if they want to?
So we have a petition, and we're looking for as many people to sign it as possible, and it can be found on our website.
And we'll pop a link in the description of today's show as well. And Adam, tell us also now, how does the FanFair Alliance feel about everything that's going on? What do you think needs to change?
I think broadly we're in agreement with, with Which. Again, it's price cap is something we've been pushing on for a while. It was great that, Keir Starmer made an announcement before he was Prime Minister that Labour would bring it in if they came into government. It was in the manifesto. So it kind of feels that, from public speeches from MPs and from our meetings with officials, it kind of feels that we're moving in the right direction. I think for us, it's just, can we just crack on and deliver it? Because obviously, every month or week that goes by, touts can prosper in the UK and consumers get ripped off. So I think that's the challenge for us, and I think it's a challenge for a lot of artists as well, because although they have been empowered to some degree, that there has been some changes in the ticketing market which have been positive, and again, I'm glad that we've helped to be able to drive some of those forward. It's really frustrating for a lot of artists that they're seeing their fans get ripped off. Again, they want them to when they are Googling for tickets, they want them to go to the box office. They spend a lot of time pricing tickets as well, and trying to find a price that's obviously that they can make some money, but also it's accessible to their fan base as well. So again, all of this kind of black market, secondary market, it kind of distracts and creates a lot of problems, and it stops what I think what everybody wants, which is the growth of a proper consumer-friendly fan-to-fan market, where again if you can't go to a show, you can resell to somebody else for the price you paid or less, and someone else can go to the show, fill up the venue. That's what we want to see prosper. Again, the longer that this kind of black market, which again is kind of endemic with criminality, the longer that prospers, the harder that is it's going to be to get that other market that we want to see kind of off the ground. So I think it's kind of glass half full, but we kind of let's crack on and let's get this delivered.
And you mentioned there has been some positive change. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, I think again, when FanFair first started, so it was 2016. It's kind of far longer than I thought I'd be campaigning and working on this. I think back then there was absolutely zero compliance with consumer law. So again, you'd go to a resale site, there wouldn't be any seat numbers, there wouldn't be any trader details. You'd literally, it was a peer-to-peer market where you'd have no idea what you're buying or who you're buying from. That's kind of changed a little bit. Only because the CMA. The Competition and Markets Authority served certain companies with court orders and got legal undertakings from other companies. So again, it's taken a lot of pressure, but it has forced some of those bigger resale players like your Vigogs and StubHubs to try to actually present more of that information. That's allowed artists, I think, when they want to have anti-touting strategies around their shows, it's kind of empowered them to make them more effective, but it's still they're having to police it, they're having to pay for it. It's kind of the law's not really supporting them to do that. So again, that's how we feel, is that the more artists are empowered to look after their fans, again, that will hopefully deliver what we want.
Well, it's something that we'll have to revisit for sure. But before we wrap up, can we talk about scams? I know this is your area of expertise, Tali. Firstly then, why are scammers and scams so prominent in this space?
Well, it's essentially because it's a really easy way to make money, because these events are really popular. People buy these tickets online, so people scammers take to social media and peddle these kind of fake tickets. And also, when it comes to big shows and artists, it's for a lot of people a once in a lifetime event. So there's a lot of customers for it. So that's essentially why we see so many scams in this area.
So much hype. And I suppose then for anyone listening, thinking, what should I be looking out for? What kind of scams are you likely to come across, or are there any examples that you can give us?
I think avoiding buying tickets from anyone on social media is a good first step, just because that's typically where we see most of these scams happen. And also like fake competitions, again on social media and things like that. Anything where the price sounds like really too good to be true is also something to look out for.
And a fake website, something as well?
Yeah, I think, but I think typically though, the website will probably come from social media and people will redirect you to that website from there. But I think usually it will just be people on social media advertising really good ticket prices to popular gigs, asking you to DM them and things like that. They can send fake screenshots to kind of make you feel like they do have the ticket, for example.
Many years ago, my partner fell victim to a scam buying tickets on a marketplace for Book of Mormon, which was the worst thing he could have done. Like, obviously now we would never do that. But yeah, so I know how I completely understand how difficult it can be to tell. I mean, you just can't tell that they're real, can you? Really?
Yeah, and that's interesting because Book of Mormon's literally always on. So
it wasn't at the time. At the time, it was like it just come out. There's a lot of hype.
End. I suppose that's why it just comes back down to where did you get the ticket from? Like, where is it being advertised? And that's just a good way to avoid scams.
And so any other advice then to help you avoid scams or to protect yourself? I mean, using a credit card maybe comes to my mind. You're nodding.
Yeah, I think if you purchase the ticket using a credit card, you've got protection under Section 75, so you can try and get your money back that way if things go wrong. Also, if you use PayPal, you have buyer's protection as long as you don't pay using friends and family. So you can also try and get your money back then. If you use just a regular debit card, you can also file a chargeback claim if you buy tickets and something goes wrong. So you do have those kind of protections in place as well.
And Adam, you were nodding along. I mean, do you come across scams often?
Yeah. I mean, and similar kind of stuff. I mean, and again, don't buy anything from strangers on social media. That's kind of fairly sensible. Unfortunately, with tickets, don't trust Google because, again, you can't trust what's at the top of search results. Kind of bizarre for a search engine and Google's mission that it kind of doesn't work, but there we go.
We can talk about that on another show.
And I think, our advice is always go to the artist website where they should tell you, because again, often with the primary market, it's not just one ticket company that's authorised to sell tickets. Quite often there'll be multiple ticket companies. And that's actually one thing that I see quite regularly that say, Ticketmaster may sell out their allocation. That doesn't mean that the other companies that are authorised don't have allocations. So sometimes I'll see people online going like, oh my God, the show's sold out. There's no tickets on Ticketmaster. And it's like, go over to See Tickets or Access or somewhere else, like they may still have allocations left. And the other thing as well is that, with the genuine sort of consumer-friendly fan-to-fan resale market, those tickets usually become available sort of closer to the show. When people genuinely realise that they can't go to an event. Most shows don't sell out. Oasis is quite a rarity. It's like kind of Glastonbury or something like that. Like, it's very rare to get this much attention and demand. Most shows don't sell out. So, our usual advice is to kind of, if you missed out in the first primary sale, wait, and there will nearly always be people reselling tickets, at cost price. Obviously, the unauthorised resale, that's all about trying to trick you into thinking the show's sold out and sell you a ticket during the pre-sale period or just after the on-sale. So again, it's kind of different dynamics compared to consumer-friendly resale.
Well, I mentioned we'll put a link to our petition in the description of today's show. And Adam, if our listeners want to find out more about the work you're doing, where can they find you? We have a website, fanfairalliance.org. Again, there's some information on there. There's some guides and other things like that. And I am regularly on Twitter as well, highlighting some of the dysfunctions of the market as well. Well, thank you both so much for joining us. It's been a really, really important episode today.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this podcast from Which, the UK's consumer champion. You can find plenty more advice about what we discussed today in the show notes. There you'll also find a link to become a Which member for 50% off the usual price, an offer exclusively available to you, our podcast listeners. Joining Which will not only give you access to our product reviews, our app, one-to-one personalised buying advice, and every issue of Which magazine across the year, but you'll also be helping us to make life simpler, fairer and safer for everyone. Don't forget to hit subscribe wherever you're listening. That way you'll be notified whenever we release a new episode of Which Money, Which Shorts, or any other podcast that we make for you. And if you want to get in touch with us, then follow us on social media at Which UK or drop us an email to podcast@which.co.uk. See you next time.
If you're enjoying this podcast from us here at Which, then why not become a Which member? Right now, we've got a special offer, especially for podcast listeners, meaning you can choose any of our 3 membership tiers for 50% off the usual price. Starting at just £39.50 for a full year, you can get Which magazine delivered direct to your door. For the same price, you could also choose a digital Which subscription, giving you access to all of our product reviews, the Which app, and the digital edition of Which magazine. What's more, you'll also be able to use the Ask Which service for personalised one-to-one buying advice. Or why not get a full access Which subscription for just £49.50 for a full year? Don't forget, that's 50% off the usual price. To join Which or to find out more, just head to which.co.uk/podcast offer. That's which.co.uk/podcast offer. Or click the link in the description for today's podcast for 50% off a Which annual subscription.